Alrighty, welcome everyone, it's Fury here, and I know it's been a while since the last video came out, and yeah, I was supposed to upload another video for AI Fury, which I already prepared, but for some reasons I didn't have time to upload it or something, so I'm gonna do it soon. But today's video is about very early version of UI Fury, so let's do it. I'm just gonna go here. UI Fury 0.1 alpha, so it's very early. There's a lot of bugs and stuff like this. So, and also I'm testing it with 5.5 already. So this is clean project without any, I guess, I don't know, without any changes with the code or anything. You just plug in there. A UI Fury here. UI Fury looks actually very similar to AI Fury. It's actually running the same, I guess, I prepared the same engine for the logic nodes and stuff like this. First of all, here in assets libraries, I have UI folder, and I have some simple resources. So I'll have like, PNG files for and various fonts for it in here. So yeah, I guess that's it. These are gonna be resources that UI Fury, I'm gonna point UI Fury to, and he's gonna use it. So we're gonna create a new project. You have logic over here and the interface itself. So with the interface, let's do like okay, there is a lot to talk about in here, because the way I created this is very similar to how Windows Forms work. Like if you already know C# and you know how Windows Forms applications work, this is very similar that I created. So basically what we've got to do here is you can create panel. You can obviously resize it to whatever size you want, and have it give it some name. And panels are used to gather more, they are like containers for other buttons or labels or whatever. So I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So if I create button over here, then pretty much it's just, you can move it around on its own. It has no parent at all. But if I create button over here on the top of this, it's parented to this panel. So if the panel disappears, children of this panel will disappear as well. If this gets removed, children will get removed too. And also size, it's inherited from the panel. So what we're gonna create a simple main menu for this tutorial video. So let's go. Let's create a label. This name, object name, is also something that you can access from C++ or from Flowgraph or whatever. So keep it consistent. So what I always do is, like, for example, game title label, and if it's button, then I go btn, so later I know what kind of element this is. Exportable, this is obviously position, of course. It's like you give it 1,000 something, 1,000, whatever, of course, size, it's labels are not sizable, so you cannot change its size because they fit to their label font and stuff like this. So exportable, they are this means that, for example, sometimes you want to have button for debugging purposes only inside UI Fury, but you don't want to export this button for Cryengine. So in this case, you just uncheck exportable, and it's not gonna appear in Cryengine, which is pretty cool. Also here, visible by default. If you run it, if you uncheck it, it's gonna be invisible from the beginning. If it's obviously checked, it's gonna be visible from the beginning. So label text. Let's do the game. Now, label font size will be for us like, let's do 20, but I guess it's gonna be very small. As you can see, nothing appears here. It's because we don't have any font for it. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go project settings. Also, you have UI Fury also automatically generates UI element file, automatically generates UI action show and hide. With this, width and height, this is like stretching for your thing, so it's not. I wouldn't recommend to change it at all. Show the so if UI action file. So if you show it in Cryengine, this whole UI element, you can actually choose if you want to have cursor in there. You can choose if you want to have receive mouse events and key events, and these three are the ones events I want, and also scaling and maximizing. This is all working properly. So choose resource folder. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go here into Cryengine 5. Projects, UI Fury, game 5.5, assets, libraries, UI, and I have flash resources over here. Alrighty. And now you're gonna see that you have all these fonts that were in a folder over here. So I'm gonna use Beholder because I like that font. As you can see, the label already appears, so I guess this is pretty small. Yeah, I guess that's much better. Somewhere near the middle, let's say. Obviously, you can change the font color as always to whatever you want. Let's keep it let's keep it black, or maybe black. Okay, so we have label. Then, for example, in the game menu, main menu of the game, you want to have some like single player or multiplayer buttons, but I guess we can create panel for it. So we're gonna create this panel is invisible, so it's just a container for other elements, but it's invisible. It can be visible, of course, by giving it some whatever you want to give it some image. But if you don't want to give it any image, then obviously it's gonna be invisible. You can have this container as big as the entire scene if you want, but not necessarily. So let's do main panel, for example. Also, I want to have it exportable and visible by default. And here I'm gonna put button, and let's do it single player button. Of course exportable, of course visible by default. And now with the buttons are probably the most complicated elements over here. What they do is they can be either text buttons, or they can have images for them. So I have some of these icons over here that you can see in UI Fury in this, probably, or not. No, I don't have. So okay, let's leave it for later. Let's do single player 30. Also the same font. It doesn't show the small. It just shows capital letters because this font is. Oh, it has only capital letters. That's why. Single player. Let's say. Now, label base color for the button, for example. Let's do 3 different so you can see that it works. Also, AI Fury has this cool feature that allows you to check your logic inside the UI Fury before exporting it. So you go play. As you can see, it disappeared. Entire panel disappeared. So as you can see, you can check how the buttons work and all this stuff. So this is pretty cool. Let's say single player. Of course, with these images you can do it like, oh shit, how can I, okay, let's do it like this. Some random stuff. Additional icon is, additional thing that you want to have on the top that is unchangeable during entire time. So in this case, you can see that they change. Of course, this in the back disappear, but in Cryengine everything works without any issues. So this is just in UI Fury you have just a overview. So don't take it like extremely tough. This thing over here. Let's do another button, maybe multiplayer BTN. Yeah, that's how it was called, single player multiplayer. And let's do here multiplayer. And was 30, I guess. Yeah, it was 30 over here, and beholder as well. So let's maybe use the same exactly pattern of this. So they would look similar. Like you can see, they both have their functionality now. And maybe another button that would be quit game BTN. Quit game. Also 30 beholder, and also do the same thing to it. Okay, we got it. So now when you run the Cryengine with this, you're gonna have your entire thing looking exactly like this. Maybe let's move it this way a little bit. Okay. Okay, now with this, obviously if I go to, for example, single player visible by default, it disappears from the beginning. And also if I disable visibility for the parent panel, then everything disappears, of course, because they inherit those properties. Okay, so this is one thing. But if you press single player, you want to have something else to appear, right? So let's create another panel. Let's do single player panel. Let's give it the same size, 620 for 213. So let's do 620. Oops, it was supposed to be here. 653. Or you know what? Fuck it. Let's just do whatever. Whoops, I didn't expect that. So as I say, it's still a lot of things to do for it. So 353 for 557. So I have this panel here on the top now. Single player panel, and for this panel I'm gonna create buttons as well. I think I should create some option to make invisible some of these objects so we can put on the top, but yeah, I'll fix it in the next release. So single player, for example, in a single player you wanna have, well, I don't actually know what you want to have in the single player. For example, start game or start game BTN, start game, and 30, and beholder, and the same thing like with everything else. Also, I should create some kind of templates for the buttons, so you don't have to create all of them at once. You can put it there or wherever you want, you know. Also, another button here would be like single player back btn back 30. The same thing like for everything else. I know it doesn't look very cool, but let's put it maybe here. So at this point I want to have this panel to be invisible from the beginning, so you can see. And now I want to have single player. When I click single player, I want this to appear actually. So I want to go here, go on event button pressed, and I want to press single player button, expand it from here, and go show object. And I want to show single player. Well, where the hell is single player panel? Oh, I forgot it over there, but okay. So now when I go to single player, it shows up, but also I wanted to actually hide the other panel, which is main panel, hide object. And now I go bang, and there you go. So now when I press back, I wanna go back to the main menu. So I go button pressed, or you can of course use button released if you want. It's not a big deal at all. I wanna have yes, here single player back button. And also I want to hide. In this case I want to hide single player panel and show main panel. Oops, yep, not here. Main panel. Now I go here, and as you can see everything works, and it should work the same when in Cryengine. So let's leave it like this. Also, before going to exporting this to Cryengine, I'm gonna show you some more features that it has, like switch buttons, for example. Doesn't matter this name. Switch buttons work like this. For example, switch 1, 20. Doesn't matter really. I'm not gonna even change the colors for it. So switch group 1, and I have another button here, switch 2, but it belongs to the same. Holy shit, no, it was supposed to be switch button. And it's gonna have the same features exactly, it doesn't matter really, but group 1. So they have the same switch groups, which means if I go and oh wait, no, actually not. Switch button, of course. Stay this way, and yeah, I'm gonna have to add some look to them, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to see if they are switched on or switched off. So that's how they'll go. I switch this one on. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, because okay, it doesn't really matter, because certainly I forgot to create this label things for it, so it works only with these things. Okay, I will fix it, doesn't matter. Input text, of course, you can just imagine how the input text work, of course, in Cryengine. And drop-down list is pretty cool. For example, drop list test, and you can have like select item. Let's do 30 maybe. So you have the select item over here, but nothing happens, right? So you can add new item. For example, I don't know, weapon 1, weapon 2, and weapon 3. So you get all of these items over here. So when you run the game, you can open up and close this. So you can select some of these, of course. Okay, so this is pretty cool, I think. It's also exportable to Cryengine, fully working in their search list at the moment without search function, but it's also cool. For example, I got 22 beholder. Let's also do the same thing with this. And hierarchy goes like, for example, item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4, and for example here, item 2, wanna have child number 2 or something like this, and another one, and another one. For example, I wanna have another child over here. So now when I run it, as you can see, this one can open up and choose elements that you want. It's also exportable to Cryengine, and they also have their own events over here, which is pretty cool. You can check if input text is empty or not, stuff like that. So yeah, but at the moment just a simple menu. So I'm gonna save it. Nope. I'm gonna save it into projects, and in here into UI folder. Let's call it main menu. Save it up. Okay. Let's see if it generated properly. Alrighty, it's right here. As you can see, it generated UI action files. It generated UI element file, Fury file, and GFX file. So now I can launch the editor. As I say, it's 5.5. Which is very cool, by the way. Okay, we've got it here. Let's open up simple level. Yep, there you go. Okay. Now you can do if you have players created in schematic, you can attach UI Fury component over here, or either you can do that or attach it to some other element, or just you can put it somewhere on the map, doesn't matter at all, and choose UI Fury file for it. So I'm gonna go to libraries, UI, and my menu. .fury. Open up, save it, export to engine. Yep, and close it up and see if we launch the game now. I've not tested this with 5.5, so I might be surprised if it doesn't work. Okay, as you can see, it's visible from the beginning. Entire thing, the game, and buttons as well. Don't be worried, they look smaller, but it's because the screen is smaller and stuff. So, okay, they all work just exactly as I wanted it to. Multiplayer and single player don't have any logic, so okay, and you can start the game. So very simple, was very quick to do. Don't be worried about this mouse movement because this is something unrelated to UI. Freezing player, it's more like your coding stuff or freezing inputs or something. So yeah, it's a lot of things like this you can do with UI Fury. So let me know what you think, and see you in the next video.